Okay, let's go ahead and call tonight's Bpac meeting to order. Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Member Abo.
Here.
Member Board Gray. Member, I'm so sorry. Tony Gerlix.
Here.
Member, sorry, Member Pilcher.
Here.
Member Pengili. The others, so I'm so sorry. That's Lucrecia Diaz.
Sure, absolutely. I would say just mute your mic.
Mr. Chair. Member Pengili.
We can see you speaking, Ben, but unfortunately we can't hear you on our end. But we'll make sure no, we can't hear you. But I see that it's unmuted, so.
Mark present. Member Chief Miller. Member Judith Gabriel is excused. You have a Chair Garcia.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Fantastic. Next up is approval of tonight's agenda. Is there any changes from staff?
None, Miss. Oh, approval of the agenda. I am very sorry, Mr. Chair, but we have to remove item number the report from the subcommittee chair Judith Gabriel, promotions, educations, and programming. She cannot make the meeting today. Thank you, Member Board Gray. That's it from the staff, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any changes from members? If not, what's the will of the committee?
Move to approve as amended.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Board Gray, Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member Pilcher,
Yes.
Member Pengili. Okay, thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Member Chief Miller,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. Next up is approval of the minutes. First is approval of the July 11th, 2024 Bpac minutes. Any changes from staff?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, the agenda, the minutes is not yet available.
Okay.
Maybe next meeting.
So we will postpone this item until next meeting. So I'll make a motion to postpone the approval of this item until our November Bpac meeting. Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Board Gray, Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member Pilcher, Member Pengili, thumbs up. Member Schiffmiller,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. And so next is the approval of August 8th, 2024 Bpac minutes. Any changes from staff on those minutes?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. How about any changes for members? If not, what's the will of the committee?
Move to approve. I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gloria Somas, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Board Gray, Member Gerlitz, Member Pilcher, Member Pengili, thumbs up. Member Schiffmiller,
I'll abstain as I was not a member at the time.
abstain. Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Hey, thank you. Next item is communications from the public. Do we have any members from the public that would like to address the body tonight? 2 minutes. Don't come rushing down, no. Anybody online? Is it just Ben?
Garcia.
Yes.
There were 3 members of the public who sent emails.
Okay, are they part of the record?
No. Should I,
We can go back and add them to PrimeGov so we can make sure that they're added, but we feel free, we can read them.
I did not know that it is the procedure.
Sure, no worries, no worries. You have copies of those and we can read them.
Yes, Miss, yes.
Yeah, feel free to read it, who it's from.
This one was forwarded by the River and Watershed manager. It was sent by Miss Kate Cunningham to Miss Zoe Isaacson, and Miss Isaacson forwarded it to me.
So was it communication directed to BPAC or was it just,
It's about the trails. So the manager is very concerned about it, and so he sent it to me. So who sent it to me is the manager of River and Watershed.
gotcha, okay,
Is it okay?
yeah, feel free to read it, yes, please.
I was hit by a bicycle while walking on the Santa Fe River Trail on September 11, 2024, near the Camino Alegre Street Bridge. I was airborne and went down hard. I am a 74-year-old woman. This was not good. Something needs to be done. There are many older people, young women with baby strollers, couples carrying their newly born baby in a front body pack, and children on this trail. I'm so sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm not wearing my eyeglasses.
No, which I
Any-
can read them if you want.
Many bikers do not treat us with respect. Let's try this one. Let us know they are passing or use a bell. There is an increasing lack of courtesy with regular bikes and e-bikes moving much too fast, passing way too close to pedestrians. That trail is too narrow for the amount of traffic at certain times, and I have noticed when it is quieter, the bikes take advantage of that and travel even faster. I appreciate having that beautiful trail as many of us walkers and the joggers do. I was hit by a regular bike with fat tires. Something needs to be done. Someone could get killed. Thank you for your urgent attention to this matter. Kathleen Cunningham. Another email was forwarded by subcommittee member Bill Adrian. Oh, that's another one. This is another one. Dear, the email, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. This email, come on, move. It's not moving. It's addressed to Bpac. I'm sorry, my cursor is not moving. Mr. ID, what's happening? Yeah, but I cannot see from whom it was. Mr. Kevin Posen. It was sent October 7. Dear Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee members, perhaps Eric only has relayed you our suggestions about signage, but I would like to do so for the record at this time. The first addition to the Cañada Rincon Trail is very near completion. The section along the reserve apartments between Calle del Viento and Camino Francisca at Zocolo. It is very nice and wide, perhaps too nice and wide, so much so that it invites motorized vehicles. So it is all the more important that the appropriate signage and bollards be in place for it as soon as possible. Similarly, with the second section of the Cañada Rincon Trail parallel to Camino Francisca from Zocalo to just south of NM 599 overpass, Eric did a marvelous job of seeing to it that the easement for this section to public non-motorized access is enforced. So please consider the following signage on both rails as discussed and requested by the neighborhood. Signs prohibiting motorized vehicles with the exception of Heller, who uses part of the second section of the trail as a driveway. Perhaps consider a speed limit for e-bikes, signs about keeping all dogs on a leash, posting signs in the arroyo too would be very helpful since many people mistakenly think it as a dog park where they can run dogs off. I'm very sorry, my cursor is gone. It's a longer email. And there's another email from, would you read it? Do you have it a copy? Yeah, but it doesn't, my,
Romello, why don't we do this? We can table the reading of these until we can get it. That way we can always come back to these letters later on in the meeting. That way we can make sure they're entered into the record.
so Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay. Any other matters from the public? If not, let's go ahead and move on to the next item. Which is communications from other agencies. Oh, hold on. Formally, we got to make a motion to table. So
I'll move to table the reading of the remaining matters from the public. And
okay, we got a motion in a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I had a question about,
Sure.
has there ever been any study or anything about possibly striping trail? I don't know if that's ever been considered.
Not that I'm aware of, but we can, because this is not necessarily the discussion portion of this, I think it's a good topic to bring up for us at our next meeting. That way we can work to address these issues that are brought up from residents. Absolutely. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Glorioso Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Bird Gray, Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member Pilcher,
Yes.
Member Pengili,
Thumbs up.
Member Schiff Miller, Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move to item 6, communications from other agencies. First is Safe Route to School Program, Mr. Harris. I don't see Mr. Harris with us this evening.
I don't think he's coming because when he comes, he's coming, he's always here
Gotcha. Okay.
before the 5:30.
I see Member Pingley's hand up. Is there, you got a question? No? Let's go to move on to the next report out, Santa Fe Metropolitan Planning Organization, Mr. Ani. Floor is yours.
This is on? Yes, yes. I always get this wrong. Okay, yes, okay. For the record, Eric Oni, Santa Fe MPO. Thanks for having me tonight. First item on the agenda for me is congratulations to you all of you for that presentation last night. And more importantly, the strategic plan itself. Very prescient, very thoughtful. I was impressed with the detail and I wish we could help more. Sometimes our hands are tied, but it is our desire to help on all of those levels. Number two, the Santa Fe MPO, we've made it through procurement. We are now moving toward 2 kickoff meetings for the update of the Metropolitan Plan. That was a federally required process. We have about 9 months to work through this. One contract is specifically for public engagement. We decided this year and this go around, every 5 years, we're required to do this. We're going to focus on Cerrillos Road. The public engagement is called Let's Talk About Cerrillos. There will be an intensive look at the elements, and why we chose Cerrillos is maybe obvious in some ways, is Cerrillos encompasses pretty much all of the issues around transportation, encompasses all of the social issues that we struggle with in the city, and it is something to be reckoned with. The intent of the public engagement is to ask the community what their use, what their thoughts, what their perceptions are. Secondly is to ask, what do you think about solutions? It is not our job at this point. It's not our to say, oh, we have these great solutions from the technocrats. We want to hear from the community and then derive that information and leverage that information in a way for the city to then consider changing, improving, what have you. A good piece of that update will be asking the question, looking back 150 years at the origins of Cerrillos Road, we're going to look forward 100 years and ask the question, what would you like to see in the next 20 years, 50 years? And the second part of that with a different consultant is to update the technical elements of the plan, demographics, all of the money and so forth. Leah, Ingvi, and a shout out to Leah for putting out the MPO newsletter. If you're on that listserv, that went out yesterday. Thank you, Leah, for doing that. Good stuff in the newsletter. The point there was that when we update the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, there is a list now about 10 miles long of projects, both encumbered in terms of federal funds and then aspirational, what we call illustrative list. Leah has put out for our agencies, including this nice group, to consider submitting new projects or reevaluating the projects that are in the MT, right? So that over the course of the next several months, and my task with her was having an updated list for the public to consume by the end of November. So that's a couple big things. The New Mexico Department of Transportation has reached out to the MTO in the city of Santa Fe. Amy Whitfield is the secretary appointed by the governor for beautification and Target Zero. Amy Whitfield hosted a summit on safety last, widely supported and attended by statewide. One of the outcomes of that summit was to do more road safety audits, but to do road safety audits that have a different lens, a more comprehensive lens that bring in more of the social science, public health, and epidemiological sort of look. They've chosen Cerrillos Road between Lujan and Siler, do the first of this experimental sort of pilot road safety audits using federal funds. As far as we know, that will be occurring in the next several months. We replied, yes. Now, we had a candid conversation, we cited with her and Gene Wolfenberger, traffic engineer, that we understand that what is between Siler Road and Lujan is the homeless, correct? Right, and so what we wanted to be clear is that we are not interested in an MPO participating in any politics, what to do with it. It was very clear that we understood that was her job as a governor appointee to deal with the politics. It's not our desire to see a road safety audit point the finger at the homeless, because those are the folks who unfortunately are being injured along that stretch, or even killed most. So I just wanted to be frank about us supporting a road safety audit, but knowing that there's complexities and optics moving. That'll be interesting to see how that will be done. The New Mexico Department of Transportation District 5 district engineer, moved on to Albuquerque. Paul Brasher, he'd been there for 20 years. They have appointed and are hiring Rhonda Lopez from within. Rhonda Lopez is an engineer that's been working for the DOT. I've not met her personally. My understanding that Rhonda Lopez is now assumed the full duties. We are looking forward to meeting with her directly and having conversations about an understanding, trying to get an understanding of where District 5 with new leadership might be with safety, with all of the things that we work with District 5. And an example might be what happened to the Hyde Park Road feasibility study of making sure that we might have bike lanes up there. We've been watching that project and it's dead for a little while, for years. And hopefully that with new leadership that can be revived. We did get some feedback that yes, it's still a viable project. And what we want to do with the county and is to get that feasibility study done. It's largely accomplished. And then seek funding to actually do what is feasible. And I believe that there will be not an entire bike lane up to or bike lanes up to the E-Basin, which would be ideal, but at least in key areas for safety. That's a project we're working on. A constituent emailed us a couple of weeks ago. She gets off the 599 station with her bicycle and then maneuvers down New Mexico 14, Cerrillos Road, near the brewery in that area, and made a real clear complaint that as you take the bike lane, and the good news that the DOT, for the most part, put bike lanes along Cerrillos, New Mexico 14, before the divergent dining, and then up to 599 station, right? There is one small portion, it's only 700 feet long, where the bike lane ends on this high speed, I would call it a highway. And they just funnel the bike traffic right into traffic. It is inexplicable, irresponsible, and embarrassing. And so my emotion, but the response back from the DOT, albeit somewhat empathetic and sympathetic, is what the DOT doesn't have in its capacity or facilities to do our small projects. They do big projects. So this is a small project of basically putting a freaking bike lane for 700 feet so you don't put people right in the middle of traffic. So I patiently sat back and said, okay, I get it. Really nothing you can do. Really? So, I'm not gonna give up. So we are gonna meet with Rhonda. That will be one of the things on the list to say, look, let's go out there and look. You just stand there. It is just all the words, right? So, and then how can this happen? And then how can we remedy it together? And so we'll see how that happens. But that is just like the little tip of the iceberg in terms of all of the things. The feedback I got from the DOT staff, they were very helpful and they listened, was there are so many of those things we just, so what does it take for city, this group, the MPO, really put its foot down and say, this is unacceptable. What can we do together? I'd be willing to put in $5 of my own money, right? Okay. That, good news. Heather Lamboy is now the planning director for the, was a champion of good work you do. Heather's a champion of good work. Nice. Congratulations, Heather Lamb. And then lastly, after 4 years of vacancy, I think when I see it in 2 weeks, city will have a new traffic engineer, complete streets division director. All of us. It will then empower the city, and it's a woman, and congratulations to the city for hiring another woman in these technical positions, because no offense to myself being a man, but having all of these women be in charge, I can guarantee there is some cultural and substantive change. So congratulations to the city. We're looking forward to meeting, I think her name is Jennifer, in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have more help to do all the good work that you're doing and we're doing. Stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ani. Any questions regarding the report out? Not seeing any, but just in regards to the issue on 599, or the one we mentioned where there's this 700 odd feet of where the bike lane diverts folks into the main highway traffic. Have we reached out to the county as well? Because is that county or city? That way, let's leverage all of our relationships and see if we can, what we can get done to remedy that matter as quick as possible.
Excellent point. Yeah, the county just rehired Ryan Ward as their traffic engineer. He's just come back on board after, I don't know where he went for a couple of years, but he's back. So yeah, good news.
Okay, and let us know if there's anything we as a committee can do to help. If writing a letter might help. I mean,
Yeah, this is one where it's so painful that I would deeply appreciate any help that this group could leverage just tension in a respectful manner. This is not something somebody will die.
right, and we'll absolutely get on this, and I think next meeting we'll put a letter. I mean, I can in my own capacity write a letter, but if we can maybe as Bpac consider an additional letter, if we can make sure that's on next month's agenda, please. Yes, Member Gerlitz.
Thanks for that, Eric. I'm curious, in your conversation with DOT, and you had mentioned that, 700 feet, that's too small a project for us, and we have a lot of these things. They must have a list of those things that are all over the place. Wonder if we can get that list, or the ones that are in the city, perhaps this group could do something that the city.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, presumably there would be a list. How that gets filtered through, and where such a list. That it will be part of the conversation. I'm looking forward to meeting with our staff, with Rhonda, and asking these questions to see where they stand on what the priority is. Another issue that's come up recently is 5G. What is the priority for the interchange? And Mr. Brasher was clear that 599 was not a priority for this group. in the near past. Maybe with new leadership, it would be. Again, an opportunity for maybe the city and the county and the NPO together and just put a little kind of fresh light that at Montano, and crossing 599 is terrifying. People have died there, and they will. It's not a matter of if or and the behavior of the driver. You just go there and look at it's a terrifying. It should be closed by any measure of human standard of rationale. So it's not because we have a commitment for moving traffic, and that's our commitment. So better stop.
Well, I appreciate the passion, Mr. Ani. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. I did, you see a hand up from a member in the virtual audience. I didn't know if you had intended to comment during the public comment, but happy to address. Naomi's iPhone is the registered name on the attendee, and I do see your hand up. So Naomi's iPhone, we're going to unmute you and feel free to, if there was something you needed to address the committee during public comment.
Mr. Chair, I believe Naomi's iPhone is Ben Pingillis. Am I correct, Ben, or no? No? Okay. So no, I that's what I asked you earlier. Okay, so no, sorry.
Naomi, if you could please, I think we've unmuted you, but feel free to address the committee, Naomi.
Good evening. It's past the public comment period. I don't know if that matters.
No, happy to reopen it for
Okay.
you. I apologize for the oversight.
No worries. One of the comments I wanted to make relates to one of the emails that was read earlier about pedestrian safety. I know that a lot of emphasis is put on bicyclists and making the city more bicycle friendly, but what that has caused is bicycles on all the sidewalks. And it is really dangerous, as the emails, this poor older woman was hit by a bicycle. I've almost been hit by multiple bicycles on the sidewalk between like Guadalupe and St. Francis on the Alameda River bit. And I mean, the bicyclists, especially the ones going downhill, are going faster than the cars, and the speed limit there is 35 miles an hour, which is too fast for the cars as well. But I mean, it's not safe for pedestrians or dogs, and they treat it like it is a bicycle highway, and it is really dangerous. And just because they ding their bell at you when they're 7 feet behind you and startle you, doesn't mean that you have time to get out of their way or anything like that. So I think that this committee needs to really focus on how to make it safe for pedestrians when now bicycles are using the sidewalks as their bike trails. I realize that it's dangerous for bicyclists on the road, but it's like a pecking order for bicyclists. They're in danger on the roads, and then they go to the sidewalks and then endanger all the dogs and pedestrians. And I have a small dog. If it was hit by a bicycle, it'd be dead, and I would be severely injured. I have osteoporosis. If someone does that to me, I'm going to have a serious injury. So I worry that pedestrian safety is not really being taken into account. And that trail along the river there has a bicycle sign on it. So bicyclists have no reason to think that they should walk their bikes or be on the road instead. And then, they just weave in and out of, pedestrians and dogs and go as fast as they like to go. And there's really nothing to be done about it, as far as I can tell. And I've written some emails to my District 1 reps about this in the past, but basically their answer to me was walk on the other side of the street, which is a very narrow sidewalk. It's not wide. And if you have dogs and the cars are going by at 35, most of them are speeding at 45. that's also not the safest situation for a pedestrian, especially one walking a dog. So my comment is really that I don't think pedestrian safety has been being given the weight that it should be given. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Naomi. I appreciate your feedback. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is a report out from Bike Santa Fe, Jennifer Weber and Rebecca Smith.
I'm Aria Kyoto on the board of Bike Santa Fe, and I've recently become the chair of our advocacy committee, taking over from Becky Smith. So I will be henceforth doing readouts. We have a few things to report. We have been working on a bike audit. We received a grant from AARP, and we have been working on this for a while. And this Sunday, we are starting the bike audit. We are going to do most of the work this Sunday, the 13th, with collaborators from many on this committee, from Bpac and Seniors on Bikes, as well as Safe Routes to Schools and other volunteers. We have 4 different intersections and routes that we're going to be observing and taking notes on for bicycle and pedestrian safety and infrastructure. And we'll, make notes about ideas of improvement and report back. We also wanted to report on our valets this year. Zozobra was a huge success in many ways. We had 275 vehicles at our bike valet for Zozobra. That included strollers and wagons and scooters. We estimate that about 200 of those were bikes, and we definitely do not have the amount of racks needed for that amount of bikes. It's pretty unprecedented. Last year we had about 100, so it's doubled in just a year. So showing that people very much want to ride their bike to Zozobra. And we had issues with security that we're working on with Kiwanis, because people were coming into the bike area, and it was hard to keep track of people's bikes because of that. So we're working on that for next year and getting a more secure perimeter. The other issue we wanted to note that was the people that did not valet their bikes locked them to fences along the street, and those were actually cut by police and taken away and impounded. I don't know. So we've also heard that that happens with the police of the city, that they do cut bike locks when they're not on an actual bike rack, and bike racks are sort of hard to come by in the city. So if we've learned anything from our valets, is that we need more bike racks in the city, in front of businesses and everywhere. And our valets have been very successful. We had 13 in total this year, which is more than we've ever had for events like the Lensic Rail Yard concerts and the Canyon Road, first month at Canyon Road. We've noticed that some of these events, they've always been highly attended and people have ridden their bikes. Some of them they need parking, such as the Zozobra, for these big events. But some of them, like the Canyon Road events, it may have been just as well if there had been bike racks on Canyon Road at all. We may not have needed a bike valet. So it's important to kind of think about where in the city we really do need bike racks, which Canyon Road would be a big maybe possibility, because if these kinds of events continue, people want to ride their bikes to these kinds of areas, and it may not be necessary for us to have a full valet if there were more bike racks. So yeah, just a few more things. In August, Jen Weber and Becky Smith presented to the HomeWise Livability Fellows about bicycle advocacy and education. So we continue to be in touch with HomeWise about events and bike education. We are looking for volunteers for our newly established committees, which are mainly advocacy, education, and communication. So people can email bikesantafe@gmail.com if they're interested. And we're also working on getting more licensed cycling instructors trained in our area. through the League of American Cyclists. So that is an ongoing thing that we're doing as well. That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Aria. Any questions?
Yes,
Member,
Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if you could tell me, so a bike audit is essentially an inventory at a certain intersection of how many people walk by, how many people bicycle by, at what times, that kind of thing. It's like a,
Yeah,
Okay.
we've been compiling different, from our members, different routes and intersections that we think are really significant. And yeah, they give us a whole packet, so there are different options of what we are inventorying, but it definitely includes the amount of bikes and pedestrians, as well as things like traffic signaling, you know, sidewalks and bike lanes and things like that, to improve upon.
and I have one more question, if that's okay, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if you or if anybody else knows the code on, if there's not a bike rack, what you can or cannot lock your bike to. I've never really heard that, you know, so if there's a parking meter, if there's no bike rack and you do not obstruct either the sidewalk or the street, but you lock your bike to a parking meter, is that something that can get cut and your bike impounded? I just have never heard of that, and I'd love to see if anybody knows of the reference of that, because I think that's an ordinance that might want to be examined. Thanks.
Member Gerlitz, and then,
Thanks, Ari.
sorry, member.
Comprehensive report. Just wanted to add, on the bike audit, there are tons of places around Santa Fe. We have to for all passionate organizations like Santa Fe. So we just focused on 4, but hearing this email, that'd be a great. Hopefully in years to come, more.
Member Gerlitz, member.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out too, we'll be taking a look at the infrastructure in particular, not probably even a bigger emphasis on that since we're doing it on Sunday, or presumably to be less people out biking at that point as opposed to commuting. But we want to get a good examination of the infrastructure. And for example, like I'm leading up the team that's going Airport Road from about South Meadows up to Cerritos, and not the friendliest place to bike. I do it many times. It's quite challenging. So those are some of the factors we want to take a look at in this bike audit.
And Member Bo, just to follow up on your comment, I can reach out to PD, ask why these bikes were impounded. I mean, I don't know the full story. I mean, could have been public safety issue because it was over. I don't know. And I think let's get some clarification. And if there is a law, then maybe we do look at revisiting that, but happy to report out next meeting from what I can find out. Member Schiffmiller and then Member Bordigary.
So, in regards to the bike audit, in addition to doing it Sunday morning, we're doing some like morning Cerritos Road.
Member Bordigary.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to clarify that the bike audit also benefits pedestrians. That is much a focus. It's about safety crossings. It's not for bikes only. It's
I think
pedestrians.
so, yeah.
We're kind of go hand in hand. I'd bring it up because we are the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We were formerly called Bicycle and What Trails, Bpac. So pedestrian is actually primary. We start out walking before we bike. And so the audit, I guess I just want to put that on the record is I'm going to continue to say this because these walkable communities mean they're bikeable too. And to keep parity, pedestrian parity in the work that we do here. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, member. Any other question? Well, thank you and welcome. Look forward to having you at future meetings. And next item, last update is from the Public Safety Committee, Member Pilcher.
Chair, attended my first meeting last month and attending my second meeting is coming Tuesday. Mostly meeting consists of reports from the various agencies, the police chief, the fire marshal, I think it was, or maybe assistant fire chief. A little puzzled about what the exact purpose of the committee is. There's apparently nothing resolution establishing the committee, giving it any particular charge, so I'll keep poking away, see if I can find an answer to that. And if I do, I'll let you guys know.
Thank you, Member Pilcher. Any questions for Member Pilcher? Well, thank you and good luck with next month's meeting. Let's go ahead and move on to section 7, discussion and possible action items. First up is introduction of new Bpac member Barry Schiffmiller representing District 1. I don't think too much of an introduction is needed. I want to make sure you're introduced. I mean, you are been a integral part of the committee as a subcommittee member in the past. Thankful to have you on board as a full-time member. But what I'll do is give you the floor, introduce yourself, not only to members of the committee that might have not met you, but to the public, and we'll just open it up. So the floor is yours, member.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been a subcommittee member. I've been coming to Bpac meetings since it was Bpac. And I have a pretty long history of bicycle advocacy in Santa Fe. I was a founding board member of Bike Santa Fe. I can't remember what year we started, but it's been probably 15 years or so. I am also a league certified instructor through the League of American Bicyclists, and I've been teaching bicycle safety to a lot of people in Santa Fe for a lot of years. And I'm an avid cyclist. I commuted to work for 20 years when I worked for the state. I'm now retired. I still use my bicycle as my main transportation within the city. Not much more to say.
Okay, well, welcome. Any committee members have any comments or? Welcome. Well, we look forward to having you on the committee. And
Mr. Chair, I remember I've worked in the same building with Gary decades ago, and happy to be joining technical advisory subcommittee. He's shy and doesn't give his opinion except when he opens his mouth. So, it's a pleasure to have him on the committee. Thanks.
well, thank you, Gary, and thank you for willing to be part of the team. So look forward to working with you.
Chair,
Yes, Member Pilcher.
vacancies yet to fill, is that correct?
We have 2 right now at the moment. We've got District 1. There is a nomination that is currently sitting with Mayor, and with the recent resignation of Member Painter, who will be filling the position for District 4. We'll be working to do similar to the way we've done it in the past, a public call for nominations. We'll just follow that process as we've done in the past. And so once we do the public call for the District 4, we'll make sure Romella sends that to the team. That way we can use our network. And do the public. Okay, let's go on to item B, presentation of award certificates. This item doesn't have much of a formal presentation behind it, but we wanted to make sure we recognize the work of 2 of our now former members that have been with us for quite some time. And the work definitely shined through last night's presentation of the strategic plan. I will say that you all have left some big shoes to fill. So that just means the work you did was tremendous, and I'm hopeful and I believe we will continue the work forward that you set in motion. So thank you so much. What I want to do is recognize each of you. And so what we've got is what we call a Muchísimas Gracias certificate. These are from the city of Santa Fe. So I'm just going to read it. Muchísimas gracias. from the City of Santa Fe and Mayor Ellen Weber this certificate is presented to Yolanda Eisenstein, Member Bicycling and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Chair, Policy Planning and Law Subcommittee. Thank you for helping Santa Fe celebrate the city's vibrant culture and history with the incredible tradition that is the Fiesta de Santa Fe. That is something we cannot wait. Okay, this needs to be corrected because although it's our our committee is sometimes a fiesta, but it's not the Fiestas of Santa Fe. But definitely is something that we could not do without your tireless efforts. Absolutely. That does not need to be corrected. Thank you for the work you do in keeping Santa Fe alive. And with this, we'll make sure to get some corrections here. That's the first one. And then the second one, muchísimas gracias from the City of Santa Fe, Mayor Ellen Weber. The certificate is presented to Paul Spencer, Vice Chair, Bicycling and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And then it does unfortunately have some of the incorrect language in there. So what I'll do is
like a rare stamp. These are going to be really valuable.
What I want to do is just open it up to the members, if any members have any comments, or either Yolanda or Paul. And then the intention was to bring you up, give you a certificate. We can give you this one, as Member Bo said, it might be worth double. So, but I'll leave it open to members now for any comments. I'll just go down the line. Member Bordigary, Member Gerlitz.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you both for your work here and collegiality. I have to say, Cal straightened me out right away with parliamentary procedure when I started, and I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody appreciated it. And just tireless efforts, and you're always involved. So thank you. And Yolanda for all of your work on the strategic plan, et cetera. So thanks. I enjoyed being on this with you. So stay out there.
Ditto, Yolanda and Cal. Thanks so much for being part of it. I've enjoyed every moment of interaction with you. I think for me, the impression and what remains with me is that oftentimes these kinds of advisory committees, you might get somebody who doesn't have anything better to do like myself, so they volunteer somehow. But here we had a Los Alamos scientist, we had a retired lawyer who recently moved to Santa Fe from elsewhere and immediately got involved in the community. And that alone is what makes good cities and good citizens. And so thank you.
No, I'm a brand new member. I have worked with both of you over the years as a subcommittee member and otherwise, and I appreciate all the effort both have made. Been a real benefit to this community and to this committee.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually joined Bpac because I was really interested. I purchased an e-bike and I was really interested in e-bikes, and I had presented to Bpac before and gotten squeezed some money out of the city for the county, and knew of the good work that this group did. And Yolanda and Cal were both really instrumental in putting that ordinance together and working through it, and trying to beat the state, slow down and speed up, and doing a lot of great things. And I do know that Cal, even though he's no longer on this committee, is a frequent contributor to the comment section of various New Mexican articles, and so imparts his wisdom to the broader community probably every day. And I think that's a great thing. Just like, a community, just like Tony mentioned about participating in a community, I think, you have a lot of thoughtful comments. And so, Yolanda, you got to get a subscription and start chipping in as well. So, but thanks very much to both of you for all your hard work here.
Thank you very much, both of you, big shoes to fill. Yolanda did such a good job in the presentation at the council that she not only got an article in the paper, she got mentioned the very first line in the article. That's significant, and certainly like Eric said, Carl, I'll be looking forward to your comments that frequently appear in the paper. Maybe not as often as you say, Eric, but they're there quite frequent. Yeah, thanks for all the great work you did, and hopefully we'll bring on some people can adequately fill you.
Yep. Why don't you step up to the mic? That way we can make sure it's documented for the folks that are, especially Ben. Is Ben still with us?
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say it has been a real pleasure. I have so enjoyed working on the committee. And with Romella and Councilor Garcia, and we've made such progress. And I mean, I really feel like I've accomplished a lot. So rolling off and not feeling like you've accomplished anything is not something you want to do when you put that much time in it. But we have really, really made progress. And so I feel great about the time and have definitely left the committee in good hands. So thank you for carrying on the work.
I'll keep it short and put the rest in the newspaper. I want to thank Chair Garcia and all the members of the committee, Romella staff, for all the help in getting the good work we did. Nobody can do this stuff alone. It takes teamwork and perseverance and sometimes a thick skin. I've often said that to have a good government, people have to participate and not just sit around. And I can't ask myself to do any less than be on these committees. Hopefully I've done some good. Thank you.
Well, again, just appreciate both of the time, energy, and effort you had put into the committee work. Always happy to have you as a subcommittee member. Go up for, comments from the public, comments in the newspaper, whatever it may be. But know that you always have a home here with Bpac. So thank you so much. I appreciate everything. Absolutely. I think that's a new subcommittee we've got to develop. It's a Romella, I'll get these to you and then we'll make sure we get them corrected, and I'll make sure I personally get them over to you. That way we don't have to drag you down to another Bpac meeting. Well, thank you so much. With that, let's move on to the next item, which is item C, the Atowi Crossing updates. And this is going to be from subcommittee member Bill Adrian, and he is on the Policy Planning and Law Subcommittee. So Mr. Adrian, thank you for being here with us, and the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Yes, I'm Bill Adrian from the Casa Alegre Neighborhood Association and representing people in that neighborhood and adjacent neighborhoods along the Atowi Crossing. This name came out of the MPO survey that was done in the springtime of users and supporters of the Acequia Trail that were impacted by the Maíz Crossing. So it roughly Casa Alegre runs from Ashbow to Los Hermanos Park. And the neighborhoods that are impacted are Casa Alegre, Pueblo Alegre, La Cieniguita, and the Sila Rufina district. Have all started to use the trail much more there. Just historically too, the trail in Casa Alegre runs alongside the Acequia de los Pinos, which was the upper branch of the Acequia Madre as it brought water to the fields of the Agua Fria village. So because of that survey, people became interested and started dialoguing, wanting to do more, learn more. So on September 21st, as part of Keep Santa Fe Beautiful, about 30 people gathered from those neighborhoods, also from the Acequia Madre Parciantes Watershed Association and the Trash Pandas, which are a group of volunteers that are part of the S3 housing initiative. They go around and pick up trash throughout the city, but predominantly in public areas like the trails. As I say, we had about 30 people. Judith and Romella helped put together this little flyer then that was available at a table there. And then also we had the MPO map the 2025 map. So that generated interest. We had people that say, oh, I've never even knew this trail existed or this section of the Acequia Trail. And everybody expressed the desire from these different groups and neighborhoods to come together again in the spring for the next Keep Santa Fe Beautiful. I should make a note though, on October 19th, the trash pandas are coming back, clean up the trail from Los Hermanos Park to Sila Rufina. I know they did that a couple months ago, and I think it's now on their calendar to regularly return, keep that area clean. We cleaned roughly from Osage down to Los Hermanos Park, came up with 2 shopping carts, 1 tire, and about 15 bags of trash, cleaning both the Acequia and the trail. I did have 2 young boys that also, one discovered a skull of a gopher. So he took that home, and another one found a lump of marble from a tabletop or something, and he thought that was his treasure to take home. They spent 2 hours down in the Acequia digging in the mud and breaking up rocks. I also, the reason I think I'm on the agenda was the reference to Mr. Hutchinson, Bill Hutchinson. In June, he was injured or struck by a car at the intersection of Osage Avenue and Ottawee Road. He did not file a police report, but he did note that he had about 6 weeks for his wound that he incurred for recovery. So he had reached out to me, I think to his board of Pueblo Alegre. He actually lives in Pueblo Alegre. We had some communication with Eric, with MPO. And in the process, in talking with Gary, a member Schiffmiller, the Bike Santa Fe identified the website bikemaps.org, BIKEMAPS.org. It's a site where if you have a bike accident or near miss, or as in the public comment section, if you're struck by a bike, you can post information about that on this website, and then it starts generating a record for the area where these incidents occur. And so I'm bringing it to the Bpac committee as a suggestion that maybe bikemaps.org would be a valuable resource. I remember prior discussions about the ghost bikes, establishing those locations, but wouldn't it be nice to have a map that would show where somebody was hit or where there was a near accident, and then getting some of the details so that down the road you'd have a history of what's the dangerous section of the trail and that. So bikemaps.org. We're encouraging in Casa Alegre and the other neighborhoods for anyone that incurs, like I say, an accident or a near accident, use that. But I'm thinking too, because of the prior comment from the public, Ms. Cunningham, even if somebody is struck or has a near incident with somebody on a bike, it might be a good, we'll recommend too that people get that information posted there. I haven't found something or seen anything comparable for pedestrians. So, but if anyone runs across that, I think that'd be another valuable tool as far as pedestrian vehicle accidents or near misses, because this, and it sounds like from the presentation from MPO, some of that might be analyzed as far as Cerritos from Lujan down to Sila. I'm also got a report from Lake Hench of Pueblo Alegre. Lake rides across what we call the Blue Bridge, coming across the Acequia, or coming to the Acequia Trail and then up to Salazar Elementary School. He has a very young boy that attends a school there, and unfortunately the bridge that was built there is so narrow and confining, it's hard to bike across because of its design. So he had reached out to land use, and land use, I think, had reached out to MPO and to the public works engineer. And so in all that discussion, and in your packet, land use had identified or found this plat map that identified that section of the Acequia Trail, including where the bridge is actually open space or park space that was given to the HOA in 1984. So that's of importance to the neighborhood. I think as we work with Public Works and with Bpac in the future, as both Ottawa gets, well, there's three things that sounds like they're going to be happening there. Currently there's a topographical survey being done of the drainage in that area. In the bond that we'll be voting on here in November, there's money to be allocated for Ottawa Street or Ottawa Road to be upgraded. And then there's the long-range plan for the Acequia Trail to be upgraded from basically Ashbow Park through Casa Alegre to Maes Crossing, the Maes bypass. So I pass it on, I guess, to Bpac and to Public Works, just as a valuable resource. Sounds like it's going to be a really messy thing to figure out who owns what square foot of land and how do we make this place, this trail, usable for bikes and for pedestrians and for the people that live along the Acequia. So Blake was going to be talking to the board of the HOA, Pueblo Alegre, to see if they can modify or would modify that bridge so that people can cross it easier with a bike. And then also I bring communication from Meredith Ziegler, who lives in La Cienegita, right next to that little section of the trail that runs between Harrison and La Cienegita. It is a watershed area in the sense there's portions of the Acequia, but there's also a holding pond there. It is close to the interface shelter. So it is used as a site of encampment or dumping trash and that. So in fact, earlier I had mentioned that's one of the spots that the trash pandas are going to be focusing on when they come to clean up there. But she had expressed concern or wanted to share her concerns about that trail because of its maintenance, and with its accompanying watershed aspects, but also people use it as a shortcut with motorcycles and ATVs, because I don't know if you're familiar with that area. The streets kind of twist and wind, let's say. So it's an easy way to maybe jump over and maybe get over to Rufina or shoot down the Agua Fria. So I'm just bringing that to the attention of Bpac too as we get further along with the Acequia Trail upgrades. That's something to keep in mind, both whether we, for signage, she was identifying, I think the sign was placed there, no motorized vehicles, but she was wondering if there could be better signage regarding that. And I'll just make a note too, Casa Alegre has been talking with or working with the community service officers of SFPD for a couple years now. And one thing we've dialogued about is actual signage, watch signage, identifying if there's an area where the residents are active in just looking out for each other and being aware of what's happening in that. So I was given 2 signs now that have been generated by the police department that I'll be bringing to our neighborhood meeting on the 15th and recommending to see if we want to place one Los Hermanos Park where the Maes crossing comes in, Maes Road, and placing the other one at Ashbow Park where the trail comes in to the Casa Alegre neighborhood. I didn't bring the sign in as a sample because it's yay wide and yay big. And I gave feedback to Sergeant Lopez with the community service officer that maybe this is a little bit too big. They maybe should consider something smaller. And in fact, I suggested as Bpac and Public Works works on wayfinding and signage, maybe we can incorporate small little watch sign that would be part of, I might say a Sakia Trail, but there might be a little sign there that also identifies this is part of a neighborhood watch area. Better, and with the name of the neighborhood too, kind of giving that additional information. So I'm open to questions.
Any questions from members? Mr. Adrian? So, Member Schiffmiller and Member Gerlitz.
Not a question so much as a comment. Meredith Ziegler is a former colleague of mine when I worked for the state. She told me not only are there ATVs and motorcycles, but there's some guy in a pickup truck who actually drives down there. And when they were doing some planning on fixing up Harrison Road, I suggested a bollard and they said no. They don't want bollards. So I'm not sure what else could be done. Maybe some boulders that have a narrow enough opening to at least keep a pickup truck out. I don't know if that's for Bpac to recommend. I'm not sure how we would go about. Who would we recommend?
I see Romella.
I don't know if you remember, but the committee, the whole committee reviewed the Harrison Road sidewalk and lighting project. And I don't think there was a suggestion from Bpac to put bollards on a secretary. But we can do that. The design is at 100% complete. We are just working with right-of-way acquisitions. And after that, we will implement the project, but it's only sidewalk, but there is from sidewalk to the secretary. There's a connection. I'll try to see if I can ask the consultant to put bollards.
I wasn't a member of the committee when I talked to them about it, so that the recommendation didn't come from Bpac, just came from me as an individual. And I was told that they don't want to do bollards because they're hazardous, you know, for bicyclists at night, for example. That's why I was suggesting maybe some large boulders with a narrow enough opening to keep a pickup truck out. Wouldn't keep motorcycles out, but at least would keep pickup trucks out.
I think it's the same thing with the El Camino Real Academy Trail that it's almost finished. But when we are reviewing it and bollards also was considered, so the bollards are now movable bollards.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Ramella, I remember for the El Camino Real Trail, I think the water guys need to get through there, so they specified removable bollards, right? So that somebody with a city key could still get in there and access the sewer line that trail is over. So, but I'm not sure about they're unsafe. If you're riding a bike and you can't see a bollard, get a light. I don't get it.
If I can just comment, I do believe La Seguita too is on the list of roads to be addressed with the bond vote. So the opposite end of this little trail. Ms. Ziegler lives on the Harrison Road's end of it. And on the opposite end too, there will be hopefully some funds and design work coming up in the next few years. That end of the road there. And maybe a bollard then could be looked at too.
What
La Seguita, Carlos Rey turns into it, I think right at Los Hermanos Park.
Carlos Rey from left. Currently. Member Gerlitz and then Member Pilcher.
Bill, this is just FYI that Aria, who puts together the newsletter for Bike Santa Fe, often puts in bike maps. or in the newsletter, which goes out to our entire membership organization. That doesn't mean everybody's using it. It's a great resource, but at least you should know that that's out there. Basically, and whoever gets that email, which is a lot of people.
Member Pilcher.
Just to clarify, my understanding is Public Works, engineering, whatever, takes care of the construction of new trails. But once a trail is complete, it's turned over to parks for maintenance. Okay. And then I'm a little puzzled too by the comment, if there's negative comments about bollards. They're used on a lot of trails in town. They're all over the Contenta Trail. So I think it's, Member Abo said, keep your eyes open and get a light at the I'm not sure why there'd be opposition to put bollards in, it seems, when we're using them elsewhere in the city to some great extent.
What Member Pilcher, El Camino Real Academy Trail is, there are lights. It's lighted trail.
Any other comments? Sure, members, former member Spencer. That could be a reason. I think it's worth investigating. So, Romella, let's you and I chat offline to see if there's anything can be done and bring that back to the committee next. Well, Mr. Agent, thank you for coming before the body. I always appreciate hearing from you. With that, let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is item D, Rabbit Road presentation condition, impact of Northeast Southeast connector completion on safety. Paul Spencer.
Mayor Garcia Committee, thank you very much. I'm Cal Spencer, former member of the Bpac, resident of District 1, and wanted to just do one of these what if talks. What happens to a crossing in a road when we do a major change in planning and development? And looking specifically at the Rabbit Road, both at the road and then the crossing. Basically, the city is looking at developing a fairly large amount of land in the Santa Fe Community College District. Some of the new roads are being put in there with quite a few blind roundabouts right now, presuming those are going to be developed into housing areas. And so how will that affect the crossing, and how will that affect vehicle travel on Rabbit Road and bicycle safety? So this first slide just shows the rail trail and the roundabout at Falcon Way, which is the new road that was put in that's leading down to the area to the east of Santa Fe Community College. So that Rabbit Road is the location of a pedestrian bicycle road crossing to the rural part of the rail trail. And rail trail is one of the most heavily used bicycle pedestrian trails in Santa Fe. And the rural part goes all the way down to US 285, so about another, I think, 8 or 9 miles or more. And it's used primarily by hikers, dog walkers, and mountain bikers and gravel bikers. Whereas the urban part of the trail stops pretty much at the parking lot at that crossing. that road will probably become more popular as a bicycle road now that the Falcon Way and that development is put in, because those are very wide roads with excellent bicycle facilities. So that's going to just invite more use. There is proposed extensive housing development in the Santa Fe Community College District, and that's likely to increase motor vehicle travel, unspecified as of yet. So how will this affect safety for us? So this is a recent photo, actually. Thank you, Erica Bowe. I've got some information here from Erica in the room. So this is a section of Falcon Way, very wide, really nice bicycle lanes, excellent viewscapes. So it's going to be popular. My concerns, development. The right side of this is a snapshot of an article that was recently in the Santa Fe newspaper. Get ready for massive decades-long infill of the expanding outskirts of town across Interstate 25 in the country. That's the highlighted area there. So the concerns, the present shoulders between Rail Trail and Falcon Way are narrow, they're full of plant growth, they're not maintained. According to Santa Fe County Public Works Roads Division for Erica Bowe, the stretch of Rabbit Road between Falcon Way and the tracks is not currently the responsibility of either jurisdiction, Santa Fe County or the New Mexico DOT. So it's kind of lost. May explain the mess it's in. So who's going to fix it? Who's going to maintain it? Who do we go to for help? So from Aragone, Rabbit Road itself was a 4.2 mile long 2-lane roadway located in Santa Fe County adjacent to I-25. It's basically the small arterial alongside the highway. 34 feet wide, 2 11-foot travel lanes and 6-foot shoulders. In 2023, approximately 4,162 vehicles passed the count station near the rail trail, average daily traffic. That number has been static since the Oshara Village and other developments occurred. Prior to that, it was about a third of that. So we already saw with the Oshara Village a very large increase in traffic. And in 2003, Santa Fe County, by resolution, changed the name of Old Agua Filo to Rabbit, whatever that is. And Eric can come up and hit me if it's important. So again, it's a frontage road facility, a minor urban arterial in the section we're worried. So the present crossing, here you see the trail coming down from the north alongside the tracks. The road conditions, if you might be able to see, there's an awful lot of cracking. It looks like the road needs some major R&R. The distance from the tracks edge to what is a bluff and a gated roadway is approximately 60 feet. And then to the south there on the right side of the screen is the entrance to the parking lot for the rural part of the rail trail. The present conditions of the shoulders, this is looking east uphill, speed limit's 40. The shoulder narrows to about 3 feet wide, with not including the gutter pan. And a lot of it is heavily overgrown right now. So I rode that on the motorcycle and stopped to take this picture. I had a hard time parking the motorcycle. I also rode this several times recently on my bicycle, and a lot of places you basically are out in the travel lane because of the condition of the shoulder. The development plan is on the public record now. It's quite a long plan. It was passed originally in 2000. Eric Bowe, if you know if this has been upgraded or if it's still pretty much as it is. It shows development. The Rabbit Road is to the upper left, El Dorado to the lower right. So this is a very large area with the community college off to the left of the screen. The yellow areas are areas slated for development. So there's a lot of them. And there's going to be rail connections, allegedly, other road connections. But a lot of this traffic is going to be coming out either on Richards or probably Rabbit, depending on whether people want to get on I-25 South or going up into the city or going to the community college. So all those will be impacted by more vehicle travel. So the question is, what will traffic volume be in the future? I don't know if anybody's done any calculations based on the number of housing units that are going to be put down there. Will the speed limit be the same? Will the crossing need safety improvements? Right now, some of the other rail trail crossings in the city are marked with things like hawk beacons or with marked crossings. So they're at least obvious that people are actively crossing the street there. Right now, there's nothing here other than what's intuitively obvious. Erica told me, not a vote, sorry. Eric told me that the railroad track proximity limits putting a formal crossing there. I think he said it had to be at least something like 40 feet away. Although, as I said earlier, there is a possibility to move that crossing all the way to the east side of the road entrance there and possibly get enough right away to put in a marked crossing. So, crossing on Falcon Way at the Spur Trail, there is a high-intensity beacon there. This is looking south on Falcon Way. So that's the sort of thing that was put in on the new road there, which I think on the Spur Trail crossing. So that's an example of what could be done if it's both manned, if it's both justified and if we have sufficient clearance from the tracks. So the question is, do we have, I think we do, based on my measurements a couple of weeks ago, I think we have at least 40 to 50 feet, but we would have to put a dog leg on that trail crossing and bring it to the east side. And we'd be limited there by, there's a bluff and a gated roadway. I still think there's room to do it. So present and future, Rabbit will be a major exit to I-25 in South Santa Fe from the new area development. How much development to be determined? We don't know what future vehicles per day and per hour are and what peak load is going to be, or the speed limit or the road profile if it changes. So do we need wider shoulders and bike lanes than present, especially if traffic volumes get a lot higher than they are right now? We need to lower the speed limit. We need some sort of traffic calming where pedestrians and bicyclists will cross. Does the rail trail need safety treatment? How would we do it? Who will maintain it? And more importantly, who has jurisdiction and clout to decide what to do and how to do it? A few more thoughts from the MPO, courtesy of Eric Ione. Short-term low-cost restripe to 10-foot lanes at 18-inch bike lane buffer for AASHTO and 5-foot bike lanes. Get a maintenance agreement between the county and the NMDOT to see that somebody actually is in charge. Long-term, a road exchange agreement with Santa Fe County assumes full jurisdiction. These ideas would need to be vetted by County Public Works, as there's no assumptions if anybody wants to do this. And finally, is there public need or public impetus to do this? One thing we'd probably need, somebody would need to do would be to see if there's enough public pressure to increase the safety of that road crossing before or during development, rather than wait till there's a crisis after the whole thing gets developed. So just thinking ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate the presentation. Any questions or comments from members? Member Pilcher.
Flashing beacons being put in, like I've noticed those at the new trailhead that they constructed as part of this Falcon Road. Seems like a pretty reasonable alternative, or is a stopgap measure.
It is to me. Eric, did you have any comments on this? The expert. There we go. Any?
This is the information and working with having a crosswalk in then so look at adjacent crosswalk you approximately so that's a beacon of sorts, maybe, and if it meets the county, we would sit down and
Yeah, I wanted to thank Eric Oni because he gave me a lot of input as I worked on this, but I take responsibility for any flaws.
Member Ebo. Oh, sorry, Member Pritchard, did you have any? Member Ebo.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I think the issue is the jurisdictional thing in addition to the Rail Bureau. I would recommend that you email this presentation or get this presentation to the folks at the Transportation Advisory Committee for, I can give you contact, his name, Ben Ashworth Lopez.
Would you email me that, please?
Yeah,
Great.
I'll forward that email to
I'll forget it in 5 seconds.
and yeah, I think it's something that I would understand that they are interested in the improvement. And I think the drop in jurisdiction was probably having to do with DOT and the county fighting about funding. For a long time, what was called the Northeast Connector, which was Rabbit Road extension to Richards, was going to be funded by DOT. And then the Southeast Connector, which turned into Falcon Way, was county. And then they moved that money somewhere else. And yeah, there was a number of political things. And I think in response to that, the county said, well, hey, not ours. So I think it's just in one of those gaps. I imagine it's temporary. And once we get our first snowstorm, we will find out who is maintaining that. Because it's not going to, people are not going to stop. And, but I would, I'll get the information to you. And I think it's a great observation that you made that, tying Tim Shanahan's presentation together. There are a large number of developments that have been chomping at the bit, waiting for this infrastructure to be built, to kind of put their plans in motion. And as you said, the county has really spurred this as their sustainable development area. And so thanks very much for making the presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Member Porter.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for bringing this up. And to add on to Member Abo's suggestion or recommendation to contact the transportation planner at Santa Fe County in the Growth Management Department. He has since left now. We had a transportation planner for 3 months. So I would direct it to Brett Clavio, who's the manager of planning. And I wanted to bring up that I think, these ideas need to be vetted by county public works, but ask the planners, call the planners, call Brett. Because I worked at the county while this was, this has been ongoing for 20 years. It's can't be overstated how important it is that Santa Fe just got this road. We don't build new roads and it connects. And yes, the county, there's 2 4-story, maybe more apartment buildings that are going on Highway 14 is the corridor and it's going to fill in. There's already subdivisions. It will fill in. And right now it is not hospitable to bikes or anything, but Brett is really aware of that and has tried to work with building and development services and the developers to connect their own developments. So that is to say, I'm really glad you brought this up. And I think I use that rail trail and Cross Rabbit Road, and it has become pretty treacherous and it is a little scary. So we have a beacon at Rodeo, I don't know how
That helps, but
that helps. Yeah. But I think you're ahead of the game, or we know this, and Kim Shanahan knows what's going on too. It's a matter of getting the jurisdictions together. And I would say Santa Fe County is a huge player and the planners are receptive to getting involved. And we also have a new growth management director at the county with the departure of Penny Ellis Green, who was there for 35 years. We now have Alexandra Ladd. She's a planner. She was the affordable housing director here at the city of Santa Fe. She's running the show at the county now. So we now have two solid female planners in major leadership. And to me, that portends hopefully better regional cooperation, because the city and county are at a low point. But yeah, I'm going to watch this, and I'd like to be involved in this, because I do know a lot about it and have been here a long time, both as a planner, but as a using all these areas. And the county's not, I mean, I don't work for them now, but to call it growth management is a stretch, but that's aspirational. You know, it's the typical, it's the standard. It may be in the community college district, but it's all car oriented. And for instance, this is a new part of town. This is where the brewery, Santa Fe Brewery, is out there. So basically it brings, there's I-25 and then Santa Fe Brewery, and there's more businesses along there and a vet. So what we're creating, like, this is a possible new neighborhood, and only if it's got the right transportation connections, this like signage, choke downs, and don't let it do it before all that development gets out there, because it's a highway and it'll stay a highway, and everybody you won't be able to, like, there's a road stub out, and that's where the apartment buildings are going to be. There's no crossing there over 14, and there's a whole industrial park, and businesses are all out there. It's a new kind of town center area. So transportation can make it or break it, but this is an area really on the radar. It's happening now. These projects are in the pipeline. They're getting the permit for, these are supposed to be affordable housing buildings. And I think one is squeaking through, but trying to work with both the developers of both, just to get them internally connected, so there's circulation. That's even proving to be like almost impossible. It's like really requires some leadership on this.
Yeah, one of the things that concerned me was not only for recreational use, but Rabbit Road would be the connection to the rail trail, which connects to a lot of businesses and a lot of medical on the south side of town along St. Francis Drive. So when you have the rail trail, you have the Chamisa Trail. How are we going to integrate these trails as well as the major roads into being usable for bicycle travel? And if we leave things like Rabbit Road the way they are right now, then it basically puts a big mess right in the middle of a potential plan that would provide good connectivity to various parts of town. So I think we need to get ahead of the game.
Thanks. I'm just add the people at the planning, get in touch with Brett Clavio and Open Space and Trails planner Adeline Murphy, because Brett has really been trying as the transportation planner, now manager, to be on top of, like, the county has the trails that they're extending out there. And I don't know all of it like you do, but get in that mix, like, please. Thanks.
Any other comments? Oh, Member Pilcher.
The question, and maybe Mr. Ani knows the answer to this. So when they did this plan back in 2000, was there any type of kind of macro transportation analysis done of projected housing units, what that would mean in terms of overall traffic count numbers? And are you aware if that was ever done at the time? What?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I was the transportation planner for the county for a couple of years, 2011, 2012. I then became pretty much intimately familiar with the community college district plan and Commissioner Hansen's passion to get this road done. The short answer is, yeah, there was a pretty good analysis in terms of the number of units. I was then part of the MPO's travel demand model update in 2013, where they brought in all of the speculative development, pulled that into our model. And so we then updated that again just a year and a half ago with even more accurate numbers as to what number referring to was a completely automobile dependent world down there for the future. And I would hope that now that we have Alex and Heather and the leadership, that you could bring them together and have that conversation. And then the last thing, if I may, is the important thing about the transition from old Agua Fria Street to that road, 2003, to me it's not really important. It's cool. It's like, why is Agua Fria is over there? And I was looking and I panned out. And it's pre-car. So if you think about all that, Agua Fria is ancient. It's a natural spur for people and stage. But this was the road, and you can see where it goes. I totally geek out about it. Just up towards up. That was the main route, and you can see where where Agua Fria now peels off at San Felipe towards the south. Thought it was really cool.
Any other comments or questions from members? Thank you, Carl, for bringing this up.
Thank you.
Topic
Thank you, Eric.
for us tonight. With that, is there any action committee wants to take? If not, we can move on to the next item. None. Let's go ahead and move on to item E. Bishops. It is item E, I believe. Yes, Bishop's Lodge Road 90% design review. I believe this was to be given by former member Painter, but member Pingley is Ribble.
Thanks. I've got something to show. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So the Technical Advisory Subcommittee learned that Member Painter had resigned, learned that 4 days ago. And so the remaining members, Ben, Gary, and I met this morning on Zoom to talk about this. And so what I wanted to show, and I think this material was in your packet. Whoops. Trying to. So this is the comment. This is a 60% comment log that's in your packet. And there are many comments. Can you see that? How do I get it on the screen? So, let me just do this. So I want to extend this. Okay. Okay. Got it. I can't see it here, but you can see it there. So these are all the comments that we were provided. And as you can see, so we had a little bit of difficulty with some of them. The comments, and I'm not sure if you can read this, zoom in a little bit more. I will zoom into the comment portion and ignore some of the leftmost columns just so it's more legible. And folks see these? Great. Yeah, they are in your packet. And so if you have them, great. But for those who don't happen to have the packet convenient, the color coding is a comment was made, the consultant said, sure, yeah, and accepted that. Yellow means that they made a comment to the right, and some of those comments were a little bit confusing. So what I want to do is scroll down to the Bpac comments, which are down here. So these are the comments that were previously made by, and I think it was Dan Painter who primarily made the comments. Although we were on the committee, we weren't really as involved as maybe we ought to have been. And so just Dean, Mike, I just want to focus on the Bpac items. So as you can see, there are a number of Bpac items. The reaction to the comments, however, so we say here, why do they have mountable curbs? And there are a couple of these that that they just say, we'll consider it. They don't really say this is accepted, or if this happens, we will include it. If this does not happen, we won't include it. So we were a little unclear on some of those, some of the comments. And so so many of these we had no objection to, other than what does your reaction to the comment mean? Because it is non-committal. It's kind of like saying the kids want to go to Disneyland and the parents say, yeah, we'll look into that. Are we going to Disneyland or not? And so there are a number of these that we're totally in agreement with. However, we're unclear as to whether or not these will be accepted. So the one that they rejected had to do with the orientation of what do they call? You read EWS, detachable. They are the alert devices between a sidewalk and a street. The yellow or red things with a detectable warning or detachable warning or detectable warning system. And so this comment had to do with the orientation of them. There was a very broad, there's a very broad sweep. And so it was unclear. It was kind of a semicircular warning system. So it was unclear that someone who was visually impaired might think to go across Bishop's Lodge rather than along the sidewalk. And so they're saying they follow the rules. I just don't really understand this particular comment. One of the things I think that is important, so we have no problem with many of the comments. I'm not sure if any of you wanted to discuss that. One of the things that Member Schiffmiller brought up is that a comment that he made at the public meeting was not included in this comment log. And so maybe Romello, you can speak to that. It was about the rumble strips. Oh, so we were not looking at, okay, so perhaps that was included, and sorry, we just missed that because we got this recently. Yeah, just this morning, yeah. And so and I would encourage Gary to look at that to make sure your comment is included. The one thing on this that we did want to bring up, and rather than download the entire document and find what page we're looking for, I instead extracted these pages. This is in the signage information. These are on pages what are they, 7-12 and 13. Let's see. Perfect. Yeah, so 13 and 14. So this is near the northbound end of the project, not at, but we were confused by the signage that's indicated here. So north is to the right. we imagine that this sign says share the road, and the bicycle, it's visible to the southbound traffic. And so while there has been a bike lane here, there is a bicycle symbol and a share the road sign. A muffle. So there, because this is going, is this going uphill or downhill? I'm sorry for mine. So as you go south, you're going down, I think. Okay, as you go south, you're going down. Okay, even here at the county line, close to the county line. Right, so my cursor is moving in a southerly direction. And there are bike lanes on both sides of this. And should there be, a bike may use full lane if there's a bike lane. Should be. Okay, so this needs to change to a muffle sign, right? Is that the understanding? Okay. Please do.
Well, I think share the road signs should always be replaced by be muffle signs, but I don't understand why there would be a be muffle sign here where it's a 50-mile-an-hour speed zone and there's a bike lane. I don't think we should be encouraging bicycles to take the lane. There's no need for that.
It'll still be a 50-mile-an-hour road. Thanks. I appreciate that. I just want to clarify, on a road of this construction, 11-foot lanes, 3-ish foot bike lanes, do we want to encourage the bicycles to be in the driving lane? Because that is what a bike may use full lane sign means. And so I would recommend that the share the road sign be eliminated from this, and it not be replaced with a bike may use full lane, because you have a bike lane in that direction. That's just, you know,
The other thing we discussed this morning is it's possible that that sign, the share the road sign, which is shown on the southbound side, might be a mistake, and maybe they intended to put it on the northbound side because that's where the side path ends. Nevertheless, there's a bike lane, a buffered bike lane on the northbound side as well. And I don't think on a 50-mile-an-hour road, we should be encouraging bicycles to take the lane.
Use your mic.
When we did the 60% review, I think Mr. Rogers was at the meeting, and if I remember correctly. And so Mr. Rogers did not want the bike lane. He said that the cyclists can use the road, the travel lanes. And then, but at the public meeting, the public really wanted to have a bike lanes. So we designed this with bike lanes, but Mr. Rogers still, and he appeared at this meeting, I think a year ago, when he was saying there should not be a side path there. There should not be bike lanes there. We can put the bike lanes on side path on Henry Lynch Road because we are reconstructing that road. And he was so insisting with his,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we
So
recall
that's
that, but
why.
I don't, that's why what?
That's why the bicyclists can use the travel lane. And if you are a slower cyclist, you use the bike lane. That is the rationale for that. Mm.
So my understanding was that no changes were made. You know, Tim's concern was side path with multiple conflicts was.
With the drive paths.
There are a lot,
driveways. With the driveways.
yeah, driveways and the roadways. So, but that side path ends at this location, is that right?
Yes.
So we think another improvement would be to, you know, to somehow indicate, use this bike lane. So that and who knows what this sign is? The sign is not correct, but it might be having bicycles somehow indicate that the bicycles that are on this side path should now go onto this bike lane. We don't know what this sign means. Thanks.
Eric, that's the demarcation line between the city and the county.
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
No. The next page is the demarcation between the city and the county. Wait. Santa Fe city limits. So so Brownell Holland. Sorry.
Station.
Yeah, let me see what station. Yeah. Let's look. Santa Fe city limit. Here is the demarcation between the city and the county. There is no side path.
Isn't that just north of Brownell?
So this is 1600, so 16100. And this sign was at?
So to me, it makes sense if you're
36.
traveling that road on your way to Tasuki and you're in the city and then all of a sudden you cross the boundary and you're in the county and the county is not putting in any additional infrastructure, then you do want to use the full lane as a cyclist. But if you have a bike lane that the city is going to put in, then I would not use the bike.
But the city is building a bike lane to the north here from, this is at 135. And this is at 162. So how far is that? How many hundreds of feet? So 300 feet. So, and here it says bike lane ends. So they're going to end the bike lane.
The county.
County.
The county.
They're going to end the bike lane at
At
the
this point.
boundary of the city and the county.
Right. And they are gonna say, don't ride on the bike lane that that we are building for you for the next 300 feet, go into the street. So you see what I'm saying? Gary?
Well, I would like to point out that the way it's shown there, the share the road, or if it was a B muffle sign, is on the southbound side.
Right.
Which is completely incongruous, and it's the only one in the whole project. So it doesn't make sense to have just one if they were encouraging bicycles to take the lane from there all the way to downtown. It doesn't make much sense at all.
So we just wanted to bring this up because it warrants discussion. It warrants discussion at this meeting. And I'm not sure I can attend at 10 o'clock in the morning. But we wanted to get input from y'all on, are we seeing this? Are we reading this correctly?
And who can attend from Bpac? Because this is one thing that we need to clarify. We need a representation from Bpac.
Ben's not here. How about him? No. Gary, are you able to?
I was planning to attend.
Excellent. So we will have a representative from the Bpac. That's great. Yeah, so we wanted to just talk this through because this confused us. And it looks like there's some work to be done on this page. Just so that folks understand on 713, so the folks understand what's going on.
7 dash.
And the other comments, we didn't have any, other than maybe going through the Bpac comments and saying, are we going to Disneyland or not, would be useful. After your thoughtful review of this from 60 to 90, where are we now? Because we still believe this.
Okay.
That'd be great.
So that could be at the review meeting, then that's what Member Chief Miller needs to say. These are still Bpac comments. We would like to see this in the design.
Great. Thanks.
So I think we've got the plan forward for this item. Any other comments or questions? If not, Member Bo, are you doing the Buckland Road one next?
Yes.
Right, so we'll go ahead and move on to item F, Buckland Road, full depth reclamation or rebuild 90% design review.
We were confused we were confused on this project. So this is a mill and overlay. Did folks have an opportunity to look at this? We wondered why with a mill and overlay, you're requesting comments from Bpac because there are to be no pedestrian or bicycle improvements to this. It's essentially make it faster.
No, it's not a mill and overlay. It's there are two. So that road, the repavement of that road has been requested by Bpac since 2021, actually 2020. And then when we got the funding to design that, the engineers with the agreement of NMDOT said that that road is so deteriorated that we can only do a full depth reclamation or a full depth reconstruction.
So it's a mill and overlay, but they're also going to, add new base course. They're basically going to compact and close the road, rip it apart, totally rebuild it.
But with reconstruction, there are some ADA compliant thing that they need to do with reconstruction. But if with full depth reclamation only, they won't correct the road.
So essentially the road will be ripped apart and put back new, pretty much like it was.
For reclamation. But for reconstruction, they would need to correct some slope of the road. The thing here is that if we do a full depth reclamation, the cost estimate was $2.3 million. That's why I also attached the cost estimate for full depth reclamation and for a full depth reconstruction. So that's full depth reclamation, which is 2 million. The full depth reconstruction is $2.5 million. The question is what the Bpac wish. Is it the reconstruction or reclamation? So the funding that we are receiving is $2.3 million.
Halfway between the estimates?
Mm-hmm. And that's an estimate. We'll receive the funding very fast. When the resolution is passed and the contract is approved, I can then request the funding. But that is the price today. If we bid this out in January or February, I think that money will go up. And I would like to do a reconstruction actually so that they can correct the slope of the road. The problem is where are we going to get other money? 200,000. And that is only from Camino de las Crucitas up to the cattle guard. What NMDOT told us is if we get the funding, we need to mill and overlay from the cattle guard to Calle Nopal. So that estimate is not yet there. Could be like $200,000 more. So if we do reconstruction, we may need another $600,000 that we don't have. So the question to Bpac is, will you be satisfied to do a full depth reclamation? That was the request from Bpac.
Okay, so let me reframe that and make sure I understand. So with this option, which is reconstruction, which is a complete tear down, this will meet ADA, and I'm wondering how. There are no pedestrian, there's no pedestrian infrastructure. Is it the slope of the
slope?
So the slope of the adjacent roads that tie into this? Because I'm trying to imagine someone who needs accessibility. What are they doing? Where are they going? What is, because this is the road section and there's no infrastructure it's an 11-foot drive lane and that's it. And then it drops off. I don't understand how this design is anyway ADA compliant. And I'm sorry, we just got thrown in at the last minute. We hadn't seen this till this morning. And so our confusion, we're not always this confused.
Yeah, so at the meeting, you can ask that question, please.
What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they told me.
Okay.
If it is a reconstruction, there's some problem with the slope that they need to correct. If it is full depth reclamation, which the request from Bpac, our funding is enough.
So this is the reconstruction profile. If we go, and I'm sorry for making people see something. Reconstruction. Is the whole thing reconstruction or?
Yes.
So we did not get a reclamation.
No.
So we have no idea what the reclamation would look like other than imagine that you take the existing profile and you make it all new.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
It's the existing profile. So it's the existing profile.
That will remain that way.
So it'll basically just be new material that looks like this,
Mhm.
or for $500,000 more, you can make it look like that. Bargain. Yeah.
So, I was told by the engineer that with reconstruction, they need to correct something, the slope of the road, to meet ADA compliance. Or ProWag. Maybe not ADA, it should be ProWag.
It's a pro walk.
ProWag is for the road. ADA is more on, sidewalks and buildings.
And what is is it?
ProWag
there a
is
federal
for,
program that says
yeah, it's,
if you're
it's
stupid enough to walk on the sidewalk,
it's equivalent to ADA. ADA is more for the buildings and sidewalk. ProWag is, what is that?
it's for cars, cyber trucks. Gary.
So what I don't understand is in either option, there's no sidewalk, there's no bike lane. And so I don't see how this relates to ADA, which would imply.
Maybe ProWag. Let me see. Um,
And we were just confused as to why this was a BPAC project, even though because a lot of bicyclists use it, we probably want the pavement to be better. But the goal would be, and it's kind of a complete streets question, if you're going to drop $2 million into this project, you want to make it more complete of a street, or do you want to rebuild the street essentially as it is, but ProWalk compliant, so it'll not be a complete street for another 20 years?
Yeah, so the request from Bpac in 2020 was that there were so many cracks on that road. And when they bicycle on that road, it's very, they said at that time, it's dangerous. So we found when you reconstruct the pavement and you're using state funding, there's a pavement design that you need to submit to the state. And so we did that. The problem with adding the sidewalk and the bicycle lane is the right of way. The right of way is 11 and 11 is 22. When you look at the satellite, when you Google this road, the side of the road is what do you call embankment?
Steep.
It's steep and it's very expensive to put sidewalk and bicycle lanes. So when you're doing a reconstruction, like for example, Henry Lynch, we're adding bicycle lanes and sidewalks. That the cost estimate is already at $6 million. So if the request from Bpac is to repave that road, so it's not as dangerous to the cyclists to ride on that road, why we are thinking that let's just repave the road, and in the future, if we have more money, then we can reconstruct the road, like add bicycle lanes and sidewalks. But this is coming back to the Bpac because this is your project. You cannot see this, the repayment of this road in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan.
I just wanted to show some of the things you're talking about. So that's the surface of the road right now. Got alligator cracks all over. And if we happen to be standing on that road, as you were saying, there's terrain issues, so you really don't, even though you might be able to get the right of way, it's a significant project to build. And Eric, I wonder could you give us a little history from your frame? If that works.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this may be helpful. So ADA requirements are not required.
Mhm.
So that may have been just a mistake. Now, ProWag, public right of way
Access.
yeah,
Yeah.
does. And something like where a pedestrian is likely to walk in absence of ADA facility. So what I hear is saying is the PROAG would probably require that slope be a little left. A pedestrian is likely. So help me understand then, is the PROAG one where the slope is going to be less, more?
So, so according to the engineers, PROWAG, it's not ADA. They said ADA, but I think it's PROWAG. So the slope is a little bit steep. So they need to correct that with the reconstruction. But with full depth reclamation, it will remain like that.
Does that help?
So it'll be steep.
No, it now it's steep. 2.5. 2.5. Yeah.
Since there's not going to be a bike lane or sidewalks, but this is a popular access to Latira trails for bicyclists, I would recommend muffle signs. Yeah, because bicyclists are going to be using this and there's no shoulder. So I'm sorry, bikes may use full lanes. I usually abbreviate muffle.
Yes, okay. Maybe you can,
Is this also going to be on the table Tuesday?
yes.
I'll be
Tuesday.
there.
So, the Bishop's Lodge would be from 10 o'clock to 12:30. And the Bachman, and we're saying this is just, FDR, full depth reclamation or full depth reconstruction, is maybe it will be shorter from 1:31 to 2.
Eric and Romella, has there been an analysis of what it would cost to put bicycle lanes in there?
No, because
Why is that not even sort of an option?
because we are reconstructing the Henry Lynch, okay, from Rufina Street to Agofria. And that road is much better than this one. That road does not need full depth reclamation, just pavement rehab. And we did that. It only cost us 250,000. But this one, it needs full depth reconstruction. And if you add the bicycle lane and sidewalk, that road is like 2 miles, almost 2 miles. That road will, with bicycle lane and sidewalk, would be like $7 million that we don't have. Our funding is for pavement reconstruction. So Bpac, if what the request from Bpac is to repave the road, not to put bicycle lanes and sidewalk. So if you want to put
That's fine.
sidewalk and
That's fine.
more money.
I agree with Gary's suggestion about putting bead muffles.
What are you looking for from us tonight, Count?
Do you want reconstruction or you want FDR, reclamation?
We don't have a profile of reconstruction.
Reclamation.
We don't have a profile for reclamation.
Recommend we take the cheaper option with the muffle signs as Member Schiffmiller suggested.
It seems in the interest of bicycles or pedestrians, it doesn't matter whether it's full reclamation or reconstruction.
If reconstruction, if you are using electric scooter, like a scooter, if you're there's a problem if you go on that road because of the slope. That's what PROWAG is, public right of way what's that? Accessibility guidelines. That's what PROAG does. And so if it's reconstruction, they can correct that. So if you are on electric scooter, you don't have problem riding on that road.
A mobility device, right? So for someone who needs the scooter rather than Chair Garcia's kid's scooter.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, in looking at the map and the location of this, I'm not sure how anybody with a scooter would get on this road. It's dirt.
PROAG.
Designation, no, maybe it's really basic, roads by engineering. Have to work, right?
Mhm.
For safety,
Mhm.
for.
Mhm. That's what they thinking. Yeah. For reconstruction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, with the funding of $2.3 million and the estimate for reconstruction is 2.5, that 2.5 includes construction management. So I've asked our project administrator that if Bpac chooses the reconstruction, can he do the construction management and we don't pay 10% for construction management? So that can come down to $2.3 million. If we need more money, then I'll need to find some more funding. But for me, I also like to have for reconstruction rather than just replacing the pavement.
So Romello, let me ask this question to the committee. Is there a major preference, one or the other? And I think I'll ask the question to Romello. Is it okay if we have staff make the final decision? Because I somewhat agree with Member Gerlitz in regards to the technical expertise. This isn't a design recommendation, so to speak. It's almost a final determination on how we move forward, which I would think should lie with city staff, not with Bpac. So I guess, so the question to the committee I have is the committee okay with leaving that decision up to staff? And then that follow-up question to Romella, can that decision be left to staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So the initial question to the committee is the committee okay with deferring, whether it's reconstruction or the other option, and let staff make that determination? So I'll pose that to the committee. Member Bordigary.
I support it as well.
Go ahead, member.
No,
Verbo.
I also move.
Second, second.
Okay. So just to clarify, the motion is to,
Not make a recommendation as to whether to do a full depth reclamation or reconstruction. Instead, leave that to staff depending on their expert knowledge and knowledge of, I would also have to say, knowledge of the available funding, it's really one of those balancing acts.
do we need to restate that, or the
The motion is for BPAC not to make a recommendation, either it is for reclamation or reconstruction, but leave it with the staff who is knowledgeable, including the funding, knowledge of the funding,
Technical and financial.
technical and financial knowledge.
Okay, so we've got a motion, and was that a second member? Member Gerlitz?
Yes,
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Glorioso Mas, can we get a roll call, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Gray, Member Gerlix.
yes,
Member Pilcher, Member Pengili. Pengili is gone, I think. Member Schiff Miller. Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Robo, and the review team for taking this on in last minute, and look forward to any future updates. Last item in this section is item G, Target Zero New Mexico and MDOT's transformative initiative. What's next for implementing BPAC strategic plan fiscal year 2023 through 2033? Ms. Glorioso Mas.
Sir Eric Oni mentioned in his report that city staff also attended the initial summit, and it's called the Target Zero New Mexico and MDOT's Transformative Initiative. And I was thinking about this in the context of the strategic plan. What is Target Zero? It's equivalent to Vision Zero, but New Mexico at DOT just called it Target Zero, meaning zero fatalities. Just to give you a data background, or the New Mexico has the highest pedestrian fatalities per capita in the nation since 2016. Another fact is that from 2018 to 2022, fatalities increased from 392 to 466 fatalities, an increase of 19%. And the traffic fatality rate is 1.73 per 100 million vehicular miles traveled, which is higher than the national average of 1.33 in 2022. So what NMDOT said is that they will coordinate all these plans that you can see to achieve target 0, but they don't have a timeline. When will they achieve it? Would they achieve it in 2050, 2040? We don't know. But in the context of our strategic plan moving forward, if you can notice that there is an action, there is a task to formulate the resolution for Vision 0. And last night at the presentation, Yolanda's presentation of the strategic plan, the mayor really this and Chair Garcia said, watch out, you will receive a legislation for Vision 0. And in one of the tasks, it says there the codification of complete streets. But I attended a training sometime about 2 or 3 weeks ago. How do you implement complete street resolution? And this is a training conducted by the League of American Bicyclists. And their conclusion is that resolution, while it's very easy, it's easy to pass, it's not really effective. It's not implementable. So they did a study of policies, number of policies that pertains to, and cannot see it. But for complete street resolutions, there were like 790 around the nation. And then for policy and for law and ordinance. My friend, thank you so much. Law and ordinance, there were 284 in the nation. So they were saying that if you want to implement complete streets, you need to have ordinance. In the strategic plan, we said to codify a complete street. It's very good if we codify it, but as you can see in the task, we need land use to codify complete streets. We have no control of it. However, if we say we want an ordinance, we as Bpac can formulate the ordinance, the governing body. So you don't have to make a decision tonight, but please think about that and how we can move forward the implementation of it. And the formulation of the resolution of Vision 0. If Albuquerque has ordinance, Vision 0 ordinance, complete streets ordinance. They don't have resolution. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glorioso Mas. Any member Pilcher and then member Bordegar?
Question, are we talking about a standalone ordinance or are we actually amending portions of the city code?
Standalone. What Albuquerque did is a standalone ordinance.
Chap. Yeah, I'm just used to a system where you adopt an ordinance, I'm amending section 14 point blah, 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 or to maybe insert this whole chapter, or that's what I'm trying to understand. Are we talking about spending what's there. I guess I got a little confused when you talked about land use would need to do something, but if we do this other route, we could do it.
Because in the task it says codification of complete streets, so that's land use code. We need them to codify the complete streets. It will take time. But if it is a standalone or ordinance, the city saying this is our policy, you need to follow complete streets. Unlike a resolution, which we have now.
I guess I don't, I guess I don't understand how one route we can kind of run, talk about doing a end run around land use versus yet it would maybe amend the same parts of the city code. I'm just confused about the mechanism here, that's all.
So in essence, the resolution is an opinion of the governing body, whereas the ordinance would have more teeth and require land use to take action on the ordinance that's passed. So if the resolution was passed,
Right.
say, land use can say, great, but we're not doing anything. Not to say that would or would not be the case, but if an ordinance is passed,
Right.
there would be required action
Right, yeah.
based off of that. Yes.
Yeah, I understand there was a
Exactly.
resolution and ordinance. I was just confused about the route that the ordinance goes. That's all.
From my understanding, the way I interpret it from Romella is if we went the ordinance route, we can force land use to respond versus if we went the resolution route, it would be a different path.
What my thinking is, and this is what the Albuquerque did, because at the summit, we talk about what cities are doing. And so they said that they had a complete streets ordinance, which is a standalone ordinance, and the land use development need to codify the code because they're following the ordinance. So it's if we say in our task to codify the complete streets, we don't have that power to say to the land use, oh, please, let's change the land use code and follow the complete streets because it's just a resolution. But if it is an ordinance, then they will be saying, of course, it's an ordinance, so we'll change the land use code based on that.
That helpful?
Somewhat.
Well, and I think, to be honest, there's going to be a lot more discussion on this. I think this will be an upcoming agenda item where we as a body will determine what is the best path forward that the committee believes will best benefit the community. I think this is just an appetizer in regards to what's happening at the state level because Vision Zero was the initial request through the strategic plan, and now with Target Zero, it's a new. Is this something new that the committee wants to entertain, or do we want to still stick with Vision Zero? And if we do want to go with either or, what path do we want to go? Do we want to go the resolution route? Do we want to go to the ordinance route? And that's up for the committee to discuss. Member Bordigary.
Thank you. So this should be on the agenda, an agenda item for the next meeting, so we can talk about it some more. Similarly, yes, the difference between the resolution is it's a policy recommendation, but it's not mandated. And the ordinance obviously is something you have to follow. I'm thinking about the mechanics of it and the fact that the city's updating our land use code right now. I mean, that's in the works. So there needs to be, I mean, these have to be woven in. And now that we have a new director who's all about collaboration, we should, you know, it'd be nice to invite Director Lamboy. She's a little busy right now, but to one of our meetings on this, I don't know, do some groundwork, but it's it's not easy to pass an ordinance. It's not easy to pass a resolution, but passing a resolution is one thing, but to get an ordinance through, it really needs to integrate with what's there. And in order to get the results, the whole point of doing streets, complete streets has to do with how we develop, right? And how infrastructure goes in and all of that. So it comes down to the reviewers in the city planning department, you know, how they're gonna, you know, we have standards that, you know, required certain setbacks, just and land use or lot coverages and things like that. It affects that. So if I had my planner cap on, says those have to be necessarily integrated, because we want it to be not just an ordinance. We want it to be implementable. And I think that's the major part to think about in a lot of this stuff is how do we implement it? Because we do pass resolutions quite a bit. And I thought I asked that question at the last previous meeting that we had adopted a complete streets ordinance, but it was the resolution. So we're in this situation. Well, it's good timing because we're updating our code and our general plan in the city. So we don't do it without them. I mean, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Or Public Works, or, you know, everybody, all the entities that are involved, you know? So it's a heavy lift. So I would say for us to entertain the idea of us advocating or recommending an ordinance, we're not there at all. We don't know. We need to know what that looks like and how it would happen. There's no way I would support an ordinance and it's in a vacuum.
This is just an introduction, and I'm leaving that to the committee to make a decision. Well, how do you want to move forward with the strategic plan or that task?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that we, whoever on staff is participating in the rewrite of the land use code, basically the land use is rewriting the ordinances that make up the code, encourage inclusion of the principles in the Complete Streets resolution that has already been passed and is a recommendation from the governing body. I think that there's, there's governing body approval for the concept. And so if staff can, in whatever sessions you have, to develop, they're doing this giant, rework of the general plan and the land use code, just by encouraging the inclusion of the principles in the recommendation, you kind of hand the heavy lifting off to that group and it becomes one of the elements of their multifaceted work. That's just my recommendation.
Member Bordigary.
Agreed. And I'm not caught up with where they are, but no doubt this has all entered the conversation and they're already trying to bring in, integrate these ideas. I just don't know the mechanics. Perhaps we should invite Daniel, is it Alvarado? He's spearheading that. Can we get him to come talk to us from land use?
He was invited and made a presentation. Yeah, but you were not yet the board member.
When was that?
Might be.
Oh, I wasn't on the board yet.
No.
Okay, then we need him back. We need him back. Okay. There's a lot that's happening. I mean, I'll make a motion. We really need him back and to have this conversation go,
And that was former member Eisenstein was pushing to be at the table for land use code rewrite, and we are not successful. Yeah,
I bet we can be now.
yeah.
And I'm
okay. You're here
that.
now, so you were part of that team before.
And it's a year and a half. There's been a lot of work done. I mean, there's a lot of momentum, and right.
We're getting ready to roll out phase 1 right now. So it just went through public review and comment over the last couple weeks. I actually have a meeting with land use like in 2 weeks, go over it. I'm a little confused. So I've got some questions to be asked, because phase one is, from my understanding, the intention was to be some cleanup and coordination, not necessarily implementation of something like complete streets, which would be in phase two. So I think there's plenty of time. I'll ask Daniel to see what, or in the team, Maggie, when I meet with them on in a couple weeks. But I do know that I'll just leave it at that. And I'm happy if we can't get them back, I'm happy to report what I find out. If folks have questions they want addressed, send them to me. Happy to ask them during that meeting.
Chair, Kate, when you have that meeting with them, you find out what were they planning to do to respond to individual comments. You know, I spent a lot of time going through what they post online, provided comments. I've heard nothing back. A little frustrating to spend hours reviewing a document and not hear whether, oh, we think that's dumb. Whatever, get some feedback. I'm not sure if they've incorporated anything I suggested or not.
Sure.
We both were at that same meeting about a year ago. So that was right when they were rolling out the first phase of it. But I also agree with you. There's this weird mix. There's some things that don't appear to be cleanup that are in the cleanup. Out there already.
That's my concern. And that's, yeah. Well, that's not what was sold to us and told to the community. And so I've got some, I'll be honest, I've got major concerns about adding additional information that is not part of cleanup and coordination of that is intended for phase two. And if that, I'll be frank, if land use wants to move forward with that, they're going to have some challenges for me because there needs to be appropriate education to the community in regards to what is being added. And that way the public can appropriately respond to it. Did I get your question down? I will ask that. Absolutely.
So I appreciate knowing that. And I had that impression because it was just, there was a newspaper article and it addressed that very thing. And was it Kim Shanahan's? It was Kim Shanahan's, which is a good, yeah, I mean, he knows what's going on and he knows what's good about it for some of us who believe that, the density thing. But yes, I mean, I'm glad you're working on this. I do, from a planning perspective, and updating any of this stuff is so difficult. And it's like, it's more than a box of Pandora's. Yeah, so I don't know their process and what it's been and how they've woven in maybe some policy things at certain junctures. I guess that's what you're going to find out.
Well, hopefully.
One request, or maybe it's just for me. Do we have, is the Complete Streets resolution on the website or on, it is, because it'd be good to have while we're talking about this, maybe we all should have a copy in our pack going forward. Okay. Because yeah, I'm not familiar with how specific it gets or anything as far as how it affects building code regulations.
Well, more to come on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, next, we'll add the same agenda items and I think that'll be the appropriate time where we can begin to have much more in the weed discussions on the topic. But thank you, Romella, for beginning the conversation. On to subcommittee communications, policy planning law, member Pilcher.
Not much to report. I think it's just down to Bill and myself as the committee. So I'm hoping one of the two members of Bpac can be brought on as part of this committee. A little thing with just two of us.
Sure. Yeah, we'll work on that.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions from folks? Seeing none, we've removed B. Go on to C, technical review. Who's going to give the report in absence of member Painter?
I will, since Ben's not on. Yeah, we need to, I guess we need to figure out who's gonna be chair of this committee, since Dan failed. And so, we'll sort that out among ourselves, three of us, but nothing to report other than the stuff we did today, the confusing presentation we gave you.
Any questions? Seeing none, matters from staff. No matters from staff today. October is pedestrian month. Excuse me. So be safe out there. Matters from the committee. Member Pilcher.
I'd like on next month's agenda, we did put on for discussion possibility of regulating speeds on trails.
Okay.
It's I've been in other jurisdictions where there's a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit on this trail. I'm a little surprised to find out we had none here in Santa Fe. 15, not 50, 15. I think that's one reason I was just reading how some, not sure what the jurisdiction is over the Bosque Trail down. Part of it, they won't even allow e-bikes on time. I assume because of speed.
20. Okay.
Yeah, so well, it's good. It'd be a good point of discussion for us. Of course, there's recognizing unless there's some officer out there on a bike, it's going to be more of a people who are going to be obeying the speed limit. I'm not going to be the funds to enforce, but I like to assume most people.
Sure, we'll make sure to add that. Any other member of both?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add to that possible item or signage. I was a little bit confused because the sidewalk that one of the commenters is actually a multi-use trail. It's not a sidewalk. It's a little confusing, and so signage on what is this 10-foot wide thing, and also be responsible. Put them in jail if they go over 20. The other thing I wanted to bring up is it's election season, and in addition to the city bond, maintenance bond, county general obligation bond question number 3 is, read it in English. Shall Santa Fe County issue up to $16,125,000 in GOB payable from general taxes to acquire, design, equip, and restore open space trails and parks within the county. And the projects that would go for have been identified as the Santa Fe River Greenway Trail, segment 4 from Caja del Oro to Cottonwood, which is to continue that. Santa Fe Rail Trail, segment 7, and M285 towards Lamy, the rail trail. Romero Park, to do a multi-sport field. That's at Caja del Oro, and restoration of open space and flood prevention in Rio and Medio. The county also says, if you pass this bonds, your property taxes will not go up significantly because they have old bonds roll off as they put new bonds in. They have, it'll go up 7/1000 of a mil. So I would encourage you and your friends to consider voting for GOB question 3.
Any member, any comments on this side? Before we go to matters from the chair, we had put an item on the table, which is the public comment. Romello, I think what we can do to fix that is just add those letters to the packet for tonight's agenda meeting, tonight's meeting. Just add those letters and we'll be good in that matter. So I'll make a motion to remove item 5 from the table. And I'll need a second.
Include the email.
Well, we got to remove the item first, then we can discuss it. I'll move to remove item number 5 off the table.
I'll move to remove item number 5 from the table.
Ms. Clario, any comments? Can we get a roll call on that, please?
Member Abo,
Yes,
Member Board Gray, Member Gerlix, Member Pilcher. I don't think Member Pengili is there. Member Schiff Miller, Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, and I don't believe we need a motion for this, but I would just say in the future, if we get letters from folks that are public comment, we'll just add them to the packet and we won't need to read them at the meetings. They're part of the packet. That's how we do it at governing body. Just add any public comment, letters, etc., as part of the packet materials.
How about, Mr. Chair, if, because the packet is, we do it a week, no, few days before the meeting. So if if we receive, for example, an email the day of the meeting, what will happen?
We can add it to the next meeting agenda.
Next meeting agenda, okay.
That way it's still recorded. Back to the order, matters from the chair. Just thank you all for everything. Last night's presentation was a success. As Member Pilcher said, if you haven't seen it, there is an article in the Santa Fe New Mexican about all the work that Bpac is doing. So please check into that. And if you're called, make a comment in the newspaper. Other than that, our next meeting is Thursday, November 14th. Everybody be safe and we'll see you all next month.